Hello, I'm Angela Aurora. Welcome to the Oracle book series. Here you'll find interviews with our authors and lots more. We hope you enjoy the show. If you do, remember to click subscribe and share on socials. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm delighted that you're here and here to meet some of the incredible authors from the Intuitives Oracle, the latest in the Oracle book series. My name's Angela Aurora Medway-Smith, and I'm the lead author and the divinely inspired channel who's been guided to create this incredible book series. And I'm absolutely thrilled to be introducing you to some of our authors. The book is the book I wish I had in my hands 40 years ago when I had a rather rude spiritual awakening. And I know it's going to be able to help so many people in helping them understand their journey, helping them understand that what's happening to them is normal, and helping people develop their intuition, their connection with spirit and the unseen realms. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce you to the first of our authors, Aureya Magdalene, who comes to us from California. So, Aureya is the founder of the Magdalene University, and a little bit more about her. She loves to share the excitement of creativity, co-creativity, offering high-level psychic insight for the realignment of individual or group energetic systems. And Aureya, you're so much more than that. We have, so much more than that. So would you like to tell our listeners about your chapter, Cariad?
Yes, I would love to. So my chapter is chapter 2, The Dragon Story. Magic is Waiting to be Seen. And it's a very fun story about a spiritual journey I took to New Zealand, to the West Coast, and an area that's known there as part of Lemuria, and a huge piece of property that entailed 3 mountains. And when we drove in, I got the tingle that the area was already in the 5th dimension. And when we got into the caretaker's home, she immediately took me aside and told me that a Maori boy had told her that there were dragons on her land. And she had heard that I was psychic and that she wanted me to walk on the land and tell her if there were dragons there. So I did. Went early in the morning, sang to the land, as I love to do, and just sat down and asked. And I got huge, very joy-laced answer that yes, they were there. And then later that day, we journeyed up the mountain, and there was a sacred rock that was like a passageway. I could see that, and I felt it, and it was in a way more high frequency than my body. And then as we came around the corner, there was a dragon. I'm still amazed that I was able to see this psychically, but a huge, huge dragon with wings out, just big heart presence, just welcoming us. Anyway, the end of that story is that when we came down the mountain and the caretaker and I did a last bow to them, I felt the children. I'm kind of a New Age children enthusiast, and I felt the children dragon saying to their parents, "They know we're here." So anyway, that's my story. It was one of my highlights of my life.
It's a beautiful story. And when you read it, you really feel that you're there with you. That's what I loved about it. So, yeah, will you tell our listeners about your the practice that you share in the book to help them develop their intuition?
Yes, I'd love to. So I've had 5 schools teaching people, intuitive skills. And in Magdalen University, I teach that, and in so many of my private sessions, I teach that. So I've been really around the block with helping people upload their psychic skills. So I'm gonna give you the basics so that you too can do it, because really it's easy. If you have a desire for it, that means it's in you already. So it's like grounding the body, feeling the belly, feeling the feet, getting that sense of stability and safety. Because we can't expand into our high frequency self without grounding, or we'll just go up and out and we won't stay present. So ground, 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 belly, belly, belly. And then uh, putting the tip of the tongue up on the palate, breathing down through the crown into that spot, and teaching yourself to stay in the silence, the quiet, the stillness, while your aura expands, just staying basically empty, and then bringing something into there to look at, which I always just have people have one of their chakras light up and then send the light from that chakra up into their third eye. And then I do very simple, ask for a symbol or an image, ask for the meaning of that to you. I have them always start with 3 questions. Image, what's the meaning of that to you right now? What's a practical thing you can do in your life to move more into that meaning, that message, what it's wanting? And who will you be when that issue, that symbol, that chakra becomes fully enlightened? So they start to get that frequency resonance of who will they be when they can anchor that lesson, or that, yeah, that chakra fullness. Yeah, so again, the triggers for this to open is enough grounding, nourishment, enough stillness, and good questions, because our being sees, period. But then we have to translate that into the human mind. And so we have to teach ourselves to ask our being, what is it seeing? What does it mean? What's something we can do? And yeah, so good questions. I have lists of them if anybody wants them.
Oh,
Yeah, so yeah.
fantastic. I mean, all of our authors have been so generous with their practices and with the gifts that they've shared. Um, the book is an absolute blessing that can lead people on this journey of development. And that's why yours is right at the beginning of the book. It's so that I felt that people needed to have that lesson before they could move on. We kind of move on very gently um, through different stages of development for people through the book, but it's still an amazing book that people can just jump in and open it if they're ready to grab something that their higher self knows that they're ready to grab. So thank you so much, Aureya, and thank you so much for being part of the project. Bless you, Cariad.
Thank you.
I'm going to move to Zach now because Zach's chapter and Zach's tool actually kind of follow on from yours because Jack's Zach is sharing something very, very special and also really, really practical. So let's tell you about Zach first. So, Zachary Hansen is a #1 international best-selling author and co-founder of Consciously Awesome. He helps people shift from burnout and second guessing to living with clarity, vitality, and deep trust in their intuition, bringing soul wisdom into everyday life. So, welcome, Zach, from upstate New York, if you're there at the moment.
I am. Thank you, Angela. Thank you. My chapter is chapter 12, and it's Consciously Awesome Communion. How to craft your key to spiritual communication. And so for me, I'll talk a little bit about why I wrote this chapter, and I'll try to leave a lot to mystery so you can know about it yourself. But essentially, I wouldn't say that I'm a person who was born with these gifts, whether that's whatever clairsense anybody wants to use, whether that's vision, hearing. I don't know how to do automatic writing, any of that kind of stuff. The only thing that I guess I would say if I had one that I was born with is just direct knowing. I call that gnosis. Some people call that clairsentience. But I went through a program. It's called the launching program in my life, and it was with my dearest teacher, Sheila Applegate. And in that, she gave me this reading, and in that reading, she made something conceptual for me turn into a reality. And so what I mean by that is like before this point in my life, I actually had a lot of spiritual understanding and experiences and knowing of the divine for myself, but I didn't have a metaphysical background. And I didn't know how to give readings or do any of this. So I had this reading and it really it changed my life from that point on to where I'm at now. And so the story that I tell is about that journey because it wasn't an easy journey for me. It was actually a very hard journey for me to be able to learn the skills of intuition in a way, not just for myself, but so then I can give messages to other people and activate other people so they can have that reality. Like you spoke about the dragon and you were able to see that. And that was an experience, right, for you. And it's like, oh, this dragon is real. And that's how I felt when my guides were there. It's like, oh, wow. And this is for everybody. And so I was like, I really, in my heart of hearts, wanted to do this for humanity because it just changed my reality completely. And so that's the journey I went on. And for a time, I couldn't do that. And so there's a lot of ups and downs in there and a lot of amazing experiences in the way I get to be able to offer readings in the way that I do. I call them soul connection sessions to people around the world. I get to create deep spaces and really amazing transformations because of that. And I know not everybody wants to do that. So that's what this story is about, how I got from not being able to do it to be able to do it and really impact people's lives, how my life was impacted and carry on that lineage, so to speak. And so that leads me to the tool that I leave. And that tool is what I call the spiritual Rosetta Stone. And essentially what it is it's just your personal dictionary of how spirit connects with you, right? And so I leave the instructions in the book there, but essentially it's just like, how are you going to map out your own dictionary? It's a living tome. It's a living lexicon of knowledge for you that grows with you as you grow in your own intuition, in your own spiritual journey. So that's the tool, the spiritual Rosetta Stone.
It's fantastic because I think that particularly when we talk about psychic development and mediumship development, when we start working with spirit, everybody's clair senses operate at different levels. Some of us see, some of us hear, some of us know the clairsentience or the gnosis that you talked about. So sometimes we smell, sometimes, and Sevante is going to talk about this. Sevante is going to talk about the body and how the body responds. So it's fabulous to be able to understand how to create this lexicon for yourself. And the examples that you give are brilliant. And I won't give anything away, but I absolutely loved it. I absolutely loved it. So thank you so much, Zach, and thank you for being part of the project. Um, Zach's, Zach, Zach has been in another of my books. In fact, everybody here has been in another of the Oracle books, which is really exciting, actually. I'll talk a little bit about those at the end rather than diluting it now. But thank you so much, Zach. Thank you. So, Caroline. I'd like to come to you next, Cariad. So, Caroline Mary is the Ascension alchemist. She is based in Wales and is the facilitator of She's a facilitator of healing and coaching. She curates wellbeing fairs, hosts Ascension TV online, and is a best-selling author in the Oracle book series and her own solo book, Who Called You Crazy? You're Having a Spiritual Awakening. So, welcome, 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 Caroline. Thank you for being here. Would you like to tell people about your chapter?
Hi, thanks so much for having me, Angela, and thanks, Aureya and Zach. It's been really lovely to hear your journeys. So my chapter is chapter 5. It's the gift of direct revelation and simple tools for receiving intuitive wisdom. And similarly to Zach, when I was growing up, I had knowings, but I had no idea of any language. Like a lot of us, there was nobody in my sphere around me that talked about this type of stuff. And basically for years, I would be kind of speaking in Revelation, and people used to be like, God, you're so intense, or you need to stop thinking, la la la. And I remember thinking that I was sat at the desk, I can remember the moment. I was like, Jesus God, like, what is it that I do? Like, what is this? Because I had a feeling it wasn't just overthinking, because there's definitely that, right? I can do that. We can all do that. But this other stuff, it was like, no, there's something happening here. And then I received direct revelation, and I was like, oh, it's the thing, right? And then years later, I was reading A Course in Miracles, and that was spoken of, and I was like, yeah, this is the thing. What I didn't know was happening for me is I would ask a question and I would get downloads, I would get wisdom coming, streams of information. And in fact, that's why I wrote the book, because I got sectioned when I had really profound times of streams of information. That's what I need to write now, because that's what I do with that stuff. And the Ascension TV. So the chapter is, I didn't think I'd be writing about this, but actually it's a weaving of me living in Portugal and realizing that I needed to come back to Wales. And even though I knew I'd had these direct revelation moments, I didn't always know how to translate my visions into what it means for me in my life. So I'd have streams of information about general things, but I wouldn't always know. And it was really interesting to listen to you, Aureya, because I was doing the little process that you said, and I got a triangle, which is is part of my logo for my brand, Open Lotus Living, and it's what I use as a symbol on my book, right? Who Called You Crazy? And I ask the questions, but it is so right. So many of us might not realize what we've already got, the skills that we've already got. So in this chapter, anyway, I basically talk about me coming back from Portugal, being in like almost a crisis of like, oh, Jesus, and then receiving a really clear message, an clear audio, right? And I have had that, but it isn't always how I've received messages. So anyway, the journey is me coming back to Wales and how my life unfolds and how I end up living where I'm living and living right next door to my beautiful man. And so I will leave you to read the chapter, but the tools are really connected with exploring our clear senses, because again, it wasn't until the last few years that I really realized, oh yeah, there's all these different ones, of course. And some of us have one of them turned up and others turned down, and we're all really different. So the first one is just a check-in to see, like, how do you receive messages? Similar to Zach, once you know that, you can start using it really well. Like with Aureya's practice, you can really start to actually be integrating and integrating these practices in your life. And then the second step is making a prayer of cleansing an area so you're really able to receive the direct revelation. And then the third one, which is the main step, is ask, basically make your prayer. And I think it's another thing that I think so many of us didn't grow up realizing you can ask and you can get. Sometimes we grew up and it was like, no, you can't have that, you can't do that. So we're having to really flip the switch and go, no, actually, and I put a Bible quote in there, ask and it shall be given. So and that's the same with the revelations as well as it is with manifestation. So it's there for all of us. And yeah, it was a bit of a surprise to be, well, firstly in the book, so thanks for the invitation, and then two, what would come out of it. And again, that's a process of that revelation of just trusting and taking those steps and asking. And I do it every day. Prayer is a really big part of how I can function in the world, frankly. So yeah, there we go.
Oh, bless you, Cariad. Thanks so much for explaining, and thanks for being part of the project.
Oh, you're so welcome.
What you may not have realized is that I also have used exactly the same quote from the Bible. Yeah, we use the same quote. And when I was editing it, I thought, do I take this out? And actually, I thought, well, no, because no, people need to read this. And actually, they need to read it twice. It's that important.
Right.
Ask and you shall receive. Because that's, but yeah, I write about connecting with guides and guardians, and they want us to ask for things because we have free will, and they can't get involved unless we do ask. So it's really, really important. So there are loads of tools. I mean, I've really poured a whole ton of tools and developmental tools, bonus practices that a couple of our lovely authors have also given us some bonus practices at the end of the book as well. So there's so much, it's so rich for people, at any point of their journey, so that they can look to develop the different clair senses, ones that they may feel they're not as strong in. They can spend a week focusing on that particular clair sense. So, there's so much in it. So bless you, Cariad. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
And the gorgeous Sevante, I've kept you waiting, and let me tell everybody about you. So Sevante is coming to us from sunny Florida. Well, I hope it's sunny for you today.
It's
And
definitely sunny.
she's the founder of SIFT, the Center for Intuitive Food Therapy. So Sevante is an international best-selling wellness author, #1 international. Every author here is a #1 international best-selling author. She's founder of Nourish Your Soul Retreats, the Food Healing Oracle Deck, and Nourish Your Soul Ayurveda. And Sevante is a 4th generation intuitive and multimodality healer. And I love you. I love all of you. So, but tell us all about your chapter, Cariad.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for giving me the space to be with all these incredible healers. I love every one of you who are here and everyone who's in the book. And I just love kind of the flow of how we went in order. I think about Caroline when I think about this chapter I wrote, which was chapter 9, Trusting Your Gut, Accessing the Body's Messages for Higher Intuition. And I thought that was such a great way to round it out. Also, when I think about the clairs, everyone talks about clairvoyance, clairsentience, but I always hone in on clairgustinance, which is not one of the big ones, but it's such an important clair because it's related to food. And that is sort of my area of expertise as the food oracle, because spiritual nutrition is such an essential part of the whole makeup of who we are. And so knowing the mind, body, spirit connection, knowing the emotional, mental, physical, spiritual understanding allows us to connect into our chakra system, of course, our third eye. And we have foods that can do that. And I teach that in many of my books, but this particular chapter I felt was unique because here we are in the Intuitives Oracle, and we're creating, or we're sharing, how we can be more intuitive with all our different gifts. So how can you be more intuitive with food? How could that be our actual access point to spiritual messaging? Well, we do, and I show you how. And so my chapter story is more of like another facet of my origin story of how I became the food oracle that I am now. But starting as a very early age on, where I did have think I was going crazy, Caroline, and felt that I had some very early on obsessions with understanding why I was scared of food, and I was a little bit phobic, always checking the expiration dates, always smelling it to make sure it was perfect, and always looking, is that dot mold growing? Is there some, a whole, ecosystem about to be put in? And, it was really like, wow, why should I be having those things at that early age? And if I had not been born into such a multifaceted, multi-generational, intuitive family that can explain these things as normal, I probably would have thought something was wrong, or maybe my mom did. But I go to tell the story of how it was all very revealed to me early on that I wasn't crazy, and that understanding of that really awakened to the fact that I really was on point. And it actually has then now become my life work from, a child to now going through university and studying food and understanding the frequency and the energy and the vibration. And so when I share about trusting your gut, we all know that saying, but I break it down, actually give the history of it, and really help you see how we can identify it, and particularly more in the practice where I allow your body in you to kind of come into one accord and to see what is your particular trust your gut sign. For me, I explain it's something about when my arms start to scratch, and other people may have a tickle in their throat. And you all may already be knowing when you're listening to me speak what it is with you that the spirit's present getting your attention. I know when I go to a grocery store, and it's what I teach all day long, and it's in one of my other books, High Vibrational Wellness, which two of you are in, I talk about soul shopping. And so I feel like this chapter ties a lot of different things I've spoken about because, of course, our intuition is everything. It's our guiding light, it's our guiding source, and it's the source of how we're fueling our body temple. So I'm very excited to share how you are going to learn how to access it. Of course, I bring in the Food Healing Oracle deck because that's a huge part of my teaching. And I give you some examples of how you can look at food, and you can look at a word put on food and how it's suddenly created a frequency. So when you eat that food, you're actually embodying that frequency to yourselves to harmonize health and wellness and whatever the word is. So that's a snapshot, a little basket of bountiful nutrition for you and nourishment. And thank you for allowing me to be here.
Oh, honestly, it's my pleasure. It wouldn't feel right without you. It genuinely wouldn't feel right without you, Cariad.
Thank you, honey.
So bless you. So now I'm going to ask everybody, what's the one takeaway you would like readers and listeners of our book to have? And I'll come back to you, Aureya, to ask this question first.
Yes, I have a strong one, and it's definitely from my own experience. It's the heart, it's the heart chakra, uh, being presenced and really linking. The chakras uh, fold into each other, and they link and they loop and they talk to each other. And so it's to really get the heart energy. And I have a meditation for this that is on my link tree. It's called Chalice Meditation, and it leads you through this. But it's for people who are going to be channeling for others to really have their heart equally there, as well as their intuitive. And I'm going to just say a couple of funny things of how I learned this was because I didn't know how to do it. And my partner would say to me, Aureya, stop. when I'd be trying to channel away, and he would just say, come back. I want my friend. I want my friend back. And I'm like, no, no, you need to know all these things I'm seeing. And he's like, no, I really mostly just want to be with you. And I would see it. I've seen it so much in so many people. If it's just what you're seeing, it's very dry and kind of clinical. And the heart has this magical ability to hold space for another person while you're telling them whatever and registering how they're receiving it. And so the heart has the ability to basically create the correct timing and the breathing that you need to, mirror in them. And it helps you hold them, and it helps them feel safe to expand, to let themselves know things that part of them isn't ready for. But it's that link. Yeah, words are hard.
Yeah.
But we all know
I
what that feels like, to be held well in someone's heart for these transformations that we're all making.
yeah.
It's crucial. And so that's what I offer, is that you basically really work to feel your heart. And the right hand or dominant hand chakra is made for that. You just put it right there between the breasts. And you can put your left hand below that on the solar plexus or the belly. And that right hand chakra will penetrate in. It's a focuser until your little heart says, oh, here I am. And then you just teach yourself to presence that feeling of heartfulness all the time, and it will expand, and it will it's a healer of its own self. It will
Mm.
bring that green light into your cells. It literally will heal you. So heart presence.
Bless you. Thank you. I mean, you're talking my language here, because Cariad spiritual is spiritual love. And I think for a lot of people, we do this naturally, but for others, this has been dumbed down. So it's vital, I think, that they receive that takeaway. So bless you, Cariad.
Thank you.
So Zach, I'll come to you next, my darling, to ask the one takeaway that you'd like for listeners and readers to experience.
Yeah, the one takeaway I would have for everyone reading this book is that you're never alone, and you never were, and you never will be alone, right? And so the message of this book, in working with the intuition is unseen, but it's always there. There's always messages, right? And so it's just relaxing into that and knowing that you're not crazy, right? That's been mentioned a couple times, right? You're not crazy, you're not alone, and you are complete. You are loved by life. And because you are loved so deeply and so fully and so completely, there's nothing you can do to obstruct this love. Nothing, not a person on this planet ever existed can obstruct this love that is for everyone. And so that love is never going to leave you, and you will always be held in that love, and therefore never alone. So that would be my takeaway.
Thank you. Thank you, Zach. That's just beautiful. Just beautiful. And I completely agree. 100,000,000%. So, Caroline, may I ask you the same question, Cariad? What's your takeaway?
I'm going to say exactly what we spoke about, the quote, ask, because like Aureya is saying about opening our heart so that we can be there for others, we have to remember that love is there for us, and that support and everything that we need is there. And I totally get the thing. I teach this because this is what I need to remember. I didn't grow up feeling, people had my back, really, not the real me. And so it's been a real life work and a daily like hour by hour even practice to remember, like Zach said, like I'm not alone. I have guides around me. I have the wisdom of my own self and own heart, own higher self and source and all those beautiful beings, the angels. And so just keep asking, because it's so easy to get into the, oh, somebody else can do this and I can't. Well, if you're interested in what they're doing, you probably can do it. That's why you're interested, you know? So ask, what's my version of that? What's for me? And that's, you know, the whole of my chapter really is that exploration, because basically I was homeless. I was having to give up my whole life in Portugal and start again. And I kind of had the knowing that it was the right thing, but my God, my everything else was screaming inside. And it's, you know, with that consistency of asking, making my prayers, listening, and receiving, that this is why I'm a multiple best-selling author and have multiple other projects that are really filling me up so I can share with others. So yeah, keep asking for what you need, big or small, people. It's no difference to the angels. Yeah.
That's perfect. Thank you so much, Caroline. Bless you, Cariad. And finally, Sevante.
Yes. So I may be echoing the beautiful beings I'm here with. My very first book I wrote was 20 years ago, and it was a children's book, Finn's Giant Leap. And it was the greatest message that I've now carried forward in everything I do because it's true, and particularly the takeaway from this chapter, which was everything we already need is already inside. And it could be considered a cliche, but it's so true. And so the answers are given to us. And when I talked earlier about soul shopping, I didn't finish with saying that if we can get ourselves really present, trusting our gut is all about understanding soul, spirit, our higher intuition, our higher power, whatever we call this force within ourself and our connection to the higher realms, the divine, is that we're already being guided. So when you're going in, what should I have for dinner tonight? Or what, oh, doesn't this look great at the farmer's market? Or this is what I'm craving. Those are all little notices that we're giving information to ourselves to pay attention, to understand our body and our soul are here together to work together in harmony. So trusting our gut, and the takeaway is we are provided the answers. We just need to listen. If we're craving something, there's a reason. Understanding that process a little bit more goes so deep. Maybe there's an emotional reason, a physical reason, a mental reason, a spiritual reason. But if you're craving bananas, potassium, or maybe there's a solar plexus, but know that spirit is well ahead of the human part of you. Everything you need is already programmed. We just need to deepen that wisdom. And that is where the activation of our intuition comes forward, and trusting our gut and noticing the signs, the physical signs, the emotional and mental, the spiritual. I hope.
Bless you, Cariad. Bless you. And I'll ask you a question later because I've been craving something lately. So I'm dying to know the answer. Um,
I might have the
so,
answer.
so thank you so, so much, beautiful souls, for being here today, for being part of our amazing book. And for those of you listening, you can pick up a copy of it on the 11th of November. That's our launch date. It's going to be on Amazon. It will be on all the other digital book platforms. Anyone you could possibly imagine, you'll find it there. But you'll also find it in lots of online bookstores. And you can get copies from our wonderful authors. All of their contact details are going to be in the show notes below, and they would be absolutely delighted if you want to reach out to them with any questions or any queries that you have. They'd love to hear from you. So I shall let you get on with your day, and thank you for listening, and thank you again to all of the beautiful authors in the whole book, and especially the ones who joined us here today. So bless you. And
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye now.
Bye.